talk about this, so it's not in your notes. But just think for a moment that you're in a community and the community says, we need a firehouse and we need firemen. So that if there's ever a fire, we have equipment available and people trained to be able to go and put out the fire and save lives, perform CPR, whatever needs to be done. Okay. So you know what we do? The town gets together and they get a building. And in that building, they put the fire truck and all that kind of business. But people really want to support the firehouse. So you know what they do? They say, you know what we need more than just a truck. We actually need some sleeping quarters at the firehouse so some people can be there during the night. So when the fire bell goes off, somebody's there to go out the door. And then, if you're going to have people staying at the firehouse, you also need what? You need food. You got to have a kitchen area, don't you? So that these folks can feed themselves. And if you got to have a kitchen area, you know what? You also need, if they're going to be staying at the firehouse, you got to have a place where they can just sit down when there is no fire, and they're just going to be there. And so you know what someone says then? They say, what we need to do is we'll just kind of get a big, lounge area set up, and we'll put a TV in there, and we'll hook in the satellite. Now, is there anything wrong with that? No, there's not anything wrong with it. I'd hate to go to a firehouse where they just expected me to stare at the walls. Of course, I'd read a book, but anyway. Yeah. All right, and then the community says, you know what? To really promote this firehouse and really get it going, you know what we're going to do? We're going to raise money for the firehouse. We're going to really get the community behind this firehouse. They need to take a closer look at this firehouse. So what we're going to do is we're going to start having meals not just for the firemen, but for the public, and invite people to come in the evenings and eat meals. And so they come and they fix meals and they set up tables, and people come and they see the firehouse and they meet the firemen and it looks good, and then they say, you know what, we'll start opening this up for lunch. And a lot of lunch people actually start showing up at the firehouse. And then, you know what, some of those people decide, I'll even volunteer at the firehouse. Some people up here that I know, and a lot of good things start happening. But if you're not careful, very slowly a shift begins to change, and all of a sudden the firehouse becomes because now, we got so many people showing up there. You know what? We need a basketball goal out here on the parking lot. There's nothing wrong with a basketball goal. And you know what? If we could put a pool table in this empty room over here, that'd be great. Maybe a ping pong table for folks that like to do that. And pretty soon, you've got kids coming up, and you know what? They've got an Xbox up there, and the kids are playing Xbox, and the teenagers are out playing basketball, and some folks are sitting in the lounge area and they're talking, and the next thing you know what? We got a softball league that we can compete against other firehouses, and that'll be fun. So now you got your softball league going, and then you got to practice. You got to get a coach, and everything's kind of working around the firehouse. Now I need to shorten this to the end. If you're not careful, what's going to happen is all of the peripheral activities are going to begin to overwhelm the reason for the firehouse in the beginning. And instead of people learning how to perform emergency medical services, and instead of people learning how to work the truck, that really begins to take a back seat to the fact that this is now a social thing that our whole town is involved in, and then someone sees how this is happening. In fact, some guys that used to go out on fire calls are now, listen for softball, and if it's not a really big fire, I'll just stay and keep practicing, and you guys make the call. And the whole shift, that's very subtle. It doesn't happen overnight, but it all moves that way until finally someone notices it and stands up and says, wait a minute, we're really majoring on a lot of things that don't have anything to do with putting out fires and saving lives. So here's what we're going to do. If you're going to be at the firehouse, you need to be involved in being trained as a fireman, or you need to be involved in being trained to give medical aid, or something to do with what this firehouse was for. But unfortunately, those folks are in the minority. So you know what? It's going to come down to this. You people that just want to have a firehouse, you can go somewhere else and have a firehouse. Or, guess what? Well, then you know what? We're not coming up here no more. You're on your own. Now everybody goes away. Now, I don't know of a firehouse where that has happened. I don't personally know of a firehouse where that's happened. But I know of tons of churches where that happened. Because the thing that even a church that doesn't know about sonship does know about people being saved. And everything shifted to become something else. And now it's not about, it's not even about the most basic thing, and that is, do we know what the gospel is? It's certainly not about sonship, which is the reason you got redeemed in the first place. But now it's about becoming a status, reaching a place. Now, I'm not saying with everybody, but it's slow. It's a thing that takes place in your mind and happens over time.